Welcome to Hack the Real Size podcast with Heather, Ashley, and myself, Keira, where we like to delve into the personal journeys of people in the entertainment industry with a little bit of cheeky fun. And tonight we are joined by Kadrian Enyia, and he's a Toronto-based actor known for the film The Price of Fitting In. Now, he is going to be huge, so we're stealing him at the start of his career just so we can say, we knew him when. So thank you very much for joining us. And remember to remember us when you're famous. Okay?
Yeah, that sounds good.
Yeah, there we go. We got it, guys. We got it recorded. How are you tonight? You okay?
Yeah, no, I'm doing good. Like I said, this is my first time actually doing one of these podcasts with people. And, I just try to think of it like it's just a regular conversation that we're having. But, I'm excited to just chat about life, meet you guys, just talk about things,
Well, just know that we're setting the bar incredibly high and all other podcasts from here on in are going to be shit. So
yeah.
level the bar set it.
Yeah, I'm ready.
So the way it will work is I will just start with some silly icebreaker questions just to loosen you up, try and get to know you a little bit more. You can pass on anything if you want to. And if you just get stuck on anything, it's fine. We can edit it out and make it sound like you have replies, okay? And then Ashley will take a little bit about where you started, where you're from, how you got into acting, why you decided to get into acting, etc. And Heather will round it off with some more questions. Okay?
All right, let's do it.
Are you ready to start?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, ma'am. I don't know if that makes you feel old or not. Never mind.
No.
What is the most dangerous thing you've ever done?
Most dangerous thing? I'd probably say bungee jumping. I would say skydiving, but I don't know the statistical difference between
I think bungee jumping is more dangerous, I think.
Yeah, it felt more dangerous because afterwards my head hurted a lot. And that's probably the most dangerous, but I willingly did it. So the most willingly dangerous thing I've done is bungee jumping. But
where did you do that?
I did that on 2020, my mom's birthday actually. So it was last year.
And was that in Canada?
Yeah, it was in Quebec. I've been wanting to go, and I've been trying to find people to go, and people are so iffy about it. They're like, yeah, I'll do it. But when it came down to actually paying, everyone's just kind of quiet. And I know my mom wanted to watch me do it. I wanted her to do it, but she was, but yeah.
Oh, yeah, bless her. I wanted to do it. I was in New Zealand and everyone else was doing it around me, but I have trouble jumping into a cold swimming pool. So there's literally no way I could easily jump off the edge. You'd have to push me, and apparently legally they're not allowed to. So I just stood there for 2 hours. Go.
Yeah, I struggle more with cold water, I think, than bungee jumping.
Oh, okay. So I'm not a massive wimp then. That's fine.
Yeah, no, cold water is like a beast.
I love that. Who is your favorite cartoon character?
Oh, I haven't thought of that in a long time. Favorite cartoon character? It's a show. What's it? I think it was called no, actually no. I'd say Bender from Futurama.
Oh, that's a good one.
Yeah.
That's a good one.
Yeah, I watched at a very young age. I think I should come back to Futurama because I actually read that the writers of Futurama were super overeducated. All of them had PhDs or masters in there, studied at Harvard and things. And I'm I feel like it kind of went over my head at the time, but I just kind of remember how it made me feel. And I don't know, I just remember Bender. It was just the first real witty character that I followed. Other than Stewie, I'd say Bender. I don't know, because I remember I had a friend who reminded me of Bender and I called him Bender. So yeah, Bender.
Who inspired you most when you were growing up?
Who inspired me? I'd say I played a lot of basketball growing up. I wasn't really into acting until not too long ago, actually. So I'd say Allen Iverson inspired me the most. I just remember as a kid, and just more in hindsight, I didn't know at the time why he inspired me. He was just really good at basketball, so I went outside. I just wanted to play like him. I had his jersey, but once I started following documentaries after realizing how he changed the culture in basketball and NBA in terms of self-expression, I realized maybe that's why I was so drawn to him. But at the time, again, being young, you just absorb these things, but you can't really intellectualize what it is about it that is moving you. But yeah, Allen Iverson, that's it.
Oh,
so growing up being a basketball fan, who do you think's the best basketball player of all time?
Well, I would just say LeBron. Like, I just found like whatever team he went to, like I just always followed him. I just always wanted him to win. And I know there's people that just call that a bandwagon, but at the end of the day, I'm watching it and there's somebody I want to win, and I just like LeBron. So, there's some people that got like real deep and like arguing back and forth, point like spitting in each other's face, yelling about like who's better based on stats, but like I guess I wasn't so deep into like, because some people would watch like, my age, born in like 98, they'd go back to like the 60s and watch all the players and like dissect every character, or I mean, every single player. But like, yeah, just for me, it was LeBron. I always just loved LeBron. And that was when, when he really got like, it was when he was in Miami and he was going crazy. And that was really when I was starting to go more crazy with basketball. So yeah, LeBron still to this day.
A lot too. Like I feel like he's a good person at heart. Like he gives
Yeah.
a lot to his area that he grew up in. So I always think that that's nice.
Yeah, like an all-around player, not just really good at one thing and another. So there's some people, even like UFC, there's people that are like really good fighters, and then you see them outside of the ring and they're like doing terrible things.
Yeah.
And it's like, oh.
Yeah.
And that's why I feel blessed. Like when I grew up, like watching like Michael Jordan and them, like social media didn't exist. So it was like those guys that you put on pedestals, like you have no idea what they did like off the court. You just saw them like on the court.
Yeah, absolutely.
I did watch the last stream though, and I shed a few tears and got goosebumps.
Yeah, that was a good one. Yeah, I feel like, it didn't hit me as hard. Maybe it would because, you were able to watch him. But like, I think, when I was born, I just wasn't able to watch him at my age. But yeah, it's okay. It's okay. I have legends growing up now, so that when, say, I'm a little older, there's going to be a documentary that comes out about, say, LeBron, and then I'm like crying, and the kids are like, what's wrong with this guy,
And I told my son, I'm like, watch it, it's so good. And he's like, who are these people? And I'm like, oh God, I have failed. Like,
yes.
Parent.
Oh, well, yeah. What are you going to do,
Are there any films or TV shows that you have watched through to the end and then you just hated the ending and you wanted to completely rewrite it?
Rewind. Okay. I'm thinking of this quite a bit. I find so I'd say okay. First it would be Sopranos. Just because like and I get it, because after I just watched a lot of like ending explained, those kind of videos, and it's the writer really wanted it to be up to the viewer's interpretation of like what happens to him. Like, I'm trying not to say exactly what happens in case somebody hasn't watched it or wants to watch it.
Their fault if they haven't watched Sopranos.
Yeah.
We're from the girl who's never watched Friends. Like, you pipe down in the corner down there.
Listen, Sopranos tops Friends by light years. I don't care what anybody says. We're rewatching it. It's amazing.
Yeah, it's a good one. It is an acquired taste, though. Well, this is the thing about like those kind of shows where it's. I mean, I haven't even watched Friends, so I don't know. But like,
okay, he's only 22 people.
Yeah,
actually, you can't like justify. You can't.
But he's watched Sopranos, so good taste and basic taste.
Yeah. Ooh.
Cut her off, kick her out. You're the host, kick her out. Kick her out.
It's just called. No.
I do like though with endings that like don't spoon feed you something. You're like, I don't like happy endings. I just don't like happy endings in shows. Like, I like when it ends on some very twisted thing because I don't know. I just feel it's a little more real, and it gives me a lot more to think about when it's done.
Yeah.
Because I like thinking about it after instead of when they tell me what I want to hear and I'm like, oh, okay, and then it's just like, I like it to like pierce me.
I need the
closure.
Yeah. I need to tie it up in a bow.
Did you watch?
I did watch Lost. I think Lost was my first like real show that I watched in its entirety. That ending was crazy. That was weird.
That to me, that was like the one show. Most shows that end, I'm like, okay, it's the ending. This is how it is, But with that show, I felt like I lost years. I was like, I dedicated to you, and you just for nothing.
And like all the things that brought up in the beginning, like they just like forgot. They're like, we don't need to explain the polar bear anymore. It's just going to be like gone. And I'm like, what about polar bear? What about like Walt? What about this? And it's like the writers were like, yeah, we just wanted to see what would happen, so we're just going to ignore all those things and just go like with the smoke monster.
Oh yeah.
Oh.
It's tough with those types of shows where it's so rich in text and they add so many new things, and it's just like yeah, they kind of almost screwed themselves over in the last season, because they put the standard up so high with every other season that you're expecting so much, but it's like you always know. It's like you expect much, but you always know there's no way you'll be satisfied. Maybe you are sometimes.
Like the final season of Game of Thrones. Not good.
I'm actually starting that. I think I'm gonna start that this month.
Oh, sorry. Just don't bother with the last season.
Yeah, I'll just not watch it. Yeah.
Oh, God, I was so annoyed. But you know what? You'll probably like the ending because it's not all roses. So
yeah, it is HBO though. You know, I find HBO endings are always just like, I don't know what it is about HBO endings. Like I was gonna say Boardwalk Empire too. I just didn't like the ending at all. It's just like I want to say why. It's just I have a hard time saying why. I just don't want to spoil anything. Like even with my girlfriend, sometimes she's talking about a specific show and she just mentions this scene, and I'm like, yeah, don't say it. And she's like, it's not a spoiler. I'm like, no, don't say it. Like I just don't. I like the whole thing to be a surprise, you know, even just like a scene, just anything. Like I just like being blind to whatever's coming. But
nice.
Well, that's good. So on the same vein of like not liking endings or wanting to rewrite stuff, if you could recast any film using just the Muppets, tell me you know who the Muppets are, okay? You're not that young.
I do not know who the Muppets are.
Do you know who the Muppets are?
No.
It's Piggy, Kermit the Frog.
And I'll never
No. I know you said Kermit the Frog?
Yeah, Kermit the Frog.
It's Piggy.
Okay, I guess I know him, but I don't know. I know.
Okay, no, that's fine.
I don't know him.
You wouldn't know the rich tapestry of what those characters are capable of.
Yeah, I'm not going to say a random one.
We've got to figure out like a thing that can resonate with younger people.
Younger generation.
Yeah.
What's a cartoon or something like that? What's a big thing from your generation, like cartoon wise?
It was a lot of Cartoon Network was a big thing.
Rugrats
kind of. I didn't get too big into Rugrats. I found like, I don't know. As I grew, like even around like 12, I was just kind of like, Rugrats is too like for the kids, you know. I would say Family Guy, but I don't know if you want more of a family friendly one.
No, I think that would be a funny twist. Yes, if you could rewrite any movie with Family Guy,
and only keep one token.
Or Futurama. What if you had like a split cast?
Oh wow, yeah. And rewrite any movie recast like any specific movie.
Yeah. Basically, which character would you really want Stewie to play?
Yeah.
Okay, I think Stewie would be a good. The early season Stewie's, like when he was really devious, because I found now they kind of write him very like, I don't know, redeeming and stuff. But like early like season 1 Stewie, season 2 Stewie, I think he'd be good. I forget the character's name, but it's Joe Pesci in Goodfellas.
Ooh, oh my God. See, Goodfellas would be that would be funny.
Mm-hmm.
If Family Guy did like
that'd be good. They do a lot of like
would you keep Ray in there or would you have someone different?
I think I keep Ray because I'm trying to think of the Family Guy universe. They're all kind of like unhinged.
Yeah.
I found Ray was not very unhinged. It almost seemed like his character was like trying to be unhinged, but he wasn't, even though he was connected to very like intense people that he can have some crazy stuff done. I just still felt like, he had a lot of heart that like wasn't really in the whole thing. So I feel like I'd keep him. Yeah, but Stewie I think would be a good Joe Pesci. Yeah. He has his own unique like witty rage. You know, Joe Pesci's like real like it's very scary. But Stewie is very scary in the early seasons. You know, he can channel it. Yeah,
I can see that. And one other question that we like to ask all our guests is, realistically, how long do you think you'd survive a zombie apocalypse? What skills have you got you can bring to the table? We're basically trying to find our own team here.
Yeah. Oh, I think about this on a regular basis, just in terms of skills. Like sometimes I'm out on a walk and I'm like, what skills do I really have? Like these people across just like my neighbors, they're like Monday to Friday, they've been doing something. I don't know what do you call it, shingles or like siding or something. They've been like fixing it or building or whatever you do. And I'm just like, that's like a real skill. And I'm like, what do I have? And then I'm like, I don't know about talking to people. Like at hard skill, I'd say I don't know. I think what I would do, I always just said if there was a zombie apocalypse, I would go to like a Costco or something, or like I think Costco's good. Walmart, I'd say Costco, because Costco is like a warehouse. It's like no windows and it's big and sturdy and it has like everything in there. I think I could last a while because
That's like a smart
yeah,
thing. Just like hold up in a Costco, like block it off, and then you can
exactly.
live. That's
Yeah.
really smart. I think that might be one of the smartest, other than layers.
Well, I mean,
that's true.
everyone's going to go there too, so you'll have to be prepared.
That's true.
Do you think? I've never thought about I haven't heard anyone say like I'm gonna go to a Costco and hold up.
Yeah, because they don't have memberships. That's why you need like they'll still be making sure you have a membership when you go there.
Sam's, you don't even have to have a card anymore. You can just plug in.
Yeah. I think though, what was I gonna say? I know some doing because it's like, yeah, you want to look to the end, but then it's like, then what? You know, it's like if I was able to stay alive as long as possible, and then I'm the only person alive, and everyone else is zombies, it's just like, might as well just kill me too.
You wouldn't bring anybody. You just said you had a girlfriend. You're not going to bring her to Costco with you?
Yeah, I'll bring her, but
She doesn't have membership.
I feel like she might agree too. She might agree too. It's like, this is boring. We can't, like, what are we gonna do? We're gonna, I don't know. It's boring, be alone.
Oh, that's slightly depressing. There you go. That's not the ending I can deal with. But thank you very much for answering my silly questions. I will pass you on to Ashley for slightly more serious talk.
So the question we like to start with is where you grew up at.
Yeah. So I'm not from Toronto. I grew up in Ottawa.
Okay.
None of you, you guys aren't from Canada. None of you, right?
No, my best friend is from Barrie.
Very cool. Okay, that's like it's like 2 hours from here, so it's probably like almost 6 from Ottawa. But yeah, I grew up in Ottawa. It's the capital of Canada. It's like I call it like a miniature Toronto. Yeah, it's a nice neighborhood. I'm pretty much friends with all the same people from there. Like we all went to school together from like grade 2 up until now. We all very close, and we always see each other. So it's been nice to have a solid group of people. But yeah, I grew up there, and acting wasn't really a thing that was like I ever thought of. I just played a lot of basketball. People in the neighborhood, everyone just played basketball or it was football. But I just all I did was play basketball. I didn't really think of anything else. Like I would go to school and I would just go home and play basketball, and that was like I think the first thing that I like actually had passion for. And like I really wanted to go to the NBA. Like I had a dream of going to NBA, like that delusion that it was going to be me. But there was a little discrepancy between, my dreams and the actual skill. Because I find, I think it's obviously very important to have work ethic and work on things, and just to have some sort of delusion towards the things you're working on. But I found with basketball, with certain sports, it can be different because it's physical. And we always talk about our minds and how our minds are limitless, and our bodies to an extent are, but there are certain caps physically that can do you a disservice. And so I found that didn't really go too far for me, but I always played. I found that was my good outlet, because in my neighborhood, like there's a lot of people like when you don't have much to do, like you just hang around people just in the wrong crowd, and you just like end up doing just kind of bad things or just making wrong decisions and stuff. And I found that, even though I wasn't like the best basketball player, it just kept me like busy all the time. So that's all I ever did. I would just play basketball. Like I would go home and I would go to school, I'd go home, I'd just play basketball with all the same people all day. And that's literally all I would do. And, up until grade 11, I had in grade 10, I had, because I never really played on teams. Because like growing up, I never played like competitively because like it was just like we just couldn't afford to play competitive basketball. So I would just play sometimes at school. I played in grade 10. I played on the actual team, and that was my first time actually playing on a team. Like I played basketball all my life, but I never played on a team. So there was that's what I meant about the discrepancy of like the actual experience of being on the court with a whole crowd of people and it being really loud, as opposed to just playing in a neighborhood with a bunch of people. And there's a element of relaxation that I didn't have when the crowd was there. So I was just really in my head and really self-conscious, and I made it too like personal, just about like if say I had a bad play, then it was me, and I wasn't good, or people didn't like me. And my coach was quite intense. I'd say he's been a character that's stuck to me for a very, very long time. It's like very, very intense coach, an acquired taste for many. Personally, for me, I just found after, it helped me grow a lot in terms of work ethic, but like I just didn't really want to play basketball anymore after.
Mhm.
It
Yeah.
just wasn't. I had a lot of trauma like to basketball after, where I just didn't. It just wasn't any fun for me anymore. And right after that, I ended up just playing football. Like I jumped from basketball to football, but that was towards the last years of high school. But it was like it was fun. I wasn't like I'm going to the NFL. I'm like this is just really fun playing, and like
Mhm.
so I did that, and that got me more into fitness and things. And yeah, that's pretty much where I grew up. But then I came here, and I came to Toronto in 2019
Okay.
August, and I came here because well, when I graduated from high school, everyone did the thing, the years, the around graduation time, you're watching you're in the auditorium and they have the universities coming and they're talking about like this course and this course and this course. And for me, like, it was a blur. Like, I didn't know what I wanted to do, but I guess I just felt like I had to go to college or university just because I felt that's what you had to do. This whole idea of that you can do something else and still make it work, it just didn't like I just didn't understand that. So I remember I ended up applying for IT or something. I had no idea. I just found out there was a co-op that you can get paid to go, and I was like, okay, well, yeah, you get paid. I'm like, okay. I just applied, but when it came time to pick your courses, I was no, I don't want to do this. Like, so I just took a year off, and I was talking to my friend the other day, and I was just talking about how like pivotal that time is, like when you graduate, and like that it's right when you graduate, and like that decision you're making from like if you're going to school or if you're taking a year off, it's so pivotal at such a young age in terms of like where your life goes. Because I look at a lot of people and the choices we made at that, like people in my neighborhood, and it's just so many different ways just off like that one choice we made. But I took a year off, and at first, I was just working. I guess I was like, yeah, you know what, I'm just gonna make a good amount of money. So, if I go to school next year, I'll have some money for tuition. And I remember working as a dishwasher, and I was grinding and grinding, and it was like making pennies.
Yeah.
And my friend, he's a very money savvy kind of guy. He's the kind of guy he touches like anything and just makes money at anything. And like he was doing this door to door job, and he told me, he's like, yo, come check out this door to door job. I'm making a lot of money. And I was like, whoa, like, okay. And I did it. And I went over and like I shadowed him. So followed him door to door while he did his spiel. And he was really good. He made it look so easy. And then I did it. And I made like no money for like 3 weeks, just every day, like zero money. There was no wage. It was just like commission only. And I made no money. But like I ended up just switching companies, working at a charity door to door one. And that had a wage and that had commission. And I was able to make it work, but I was only there for 3 weeks and I ended up getting fired just because I didn't hit the target. There's a certain amount of donations you need. And I found I just couldn't, because there's this element of like, I don't want to call it aggression, but yeah, it's this persistence that I didn't have. Like at the door, you really need to press people sometimes. And I just didn't like doing that. And so I kind of fell off there. But then from that, I ended up doing another door to door job. And that one I ended up doing for 2 or 3 years. And that was like window cleaning. And I found that was just a little better for me, easier for me to do. Just one, because you actually clean the windows yourself. But all that to say, like, I did door to door pretty much from when I graduated up until 2019. And I found that really helped, like, just helped me learn to communicate with people. Really, because you don't know these neighborhoods, people don't know who you are, and it can be very hostile. And sometimes it's just in your head. Sometimes you feel like it is. Sometimes you have no idea. And sometimes you knock on the door and something. Like I remember I knocked on this one lady's door, and I knocked on the door and I was talking. But as I'm talking, I'm obviously looking at her just to see like is she agreeing with me? Is she interested? And I could see she's like nodding. So it kind of felt like I was being disregarded. And then she like interrupted me. She's like, "Oh, sorry, my kid just broke his ankle. I need to go like help him." And then I heard like a kid like screaming, and he was like screaming. I'm like, So it's like the odds. You just knock on people's door, and there's something terrible can be happening, and you're like, yeah, I'm here to clean your windows, give me money. It's just like, yeah. But again, that got me really into this all kind of connects to where I am today because through the training we did, they made us read a lot of books. And it was specifically like self-help books. And I found like that's how I got really big into like self-help and spirituality and like mindfulness. And so that was, I'd say that's what was really good for me, just in terms, but that was a problem though. It was like a double-edged sword, because all I ended up doing was just reading a bunch of self-help books. Like I would just read I would get the next one. I'm like, oh, maybe that one has the key to success. Oh, maybe that one has the key. Oh, I got all these, but no, I think I need one more. But I realized the message that all of them were saying was always just to like take action, like take action, take action, take action. And I wasn't doing that because I didn't really know what I wanted. So I was just like, what am I going to do? And then I felt like this fraud, because I was like, oh, I'm reading all this and I'm talking about success, but that was just because I never really found anything that like clicked for me. I just knew that. But then this thing about me was like, okay, well, sure, I don't know what's clicking right now, but you know what? I'm just going to keep consuming it and over and over and over, and like something will work. And in 2018, my girlfriend, she used to model when she was in middle school, and she wanted to get back into it. So I wanted her to get back into it, and what she was going to do is just go back down to the agency and just see the agent and just be like, hey, I'm back into it. I'm older now and I'm ready to commit. I really wanted her to go. So I decided, I was like, you know what, I'm going to come with you. Not in terms of like for me to get signed. I had no thought of that. I was just like, I'm just going to come with you. Just, I'll go with you. I'll drive you there and I'll give you, want you to get signed. And I went with her, and I ended up just getting signed. And it was as a model at that time. And, I just took it as like, okay. Because at that time, again, I wasn't in school. I was just working, and like, I was just, like to this day, just trying to find like what I liked. And I saw that just an opportunity to try something. And, so I did that for a little bit. It was just photo shoots at the beginning, but very quickly I started doing commercials, like very, very quickly. And, I thought nothing of it, but I thought it was really cool. It's like, whoa, like I just was here for like 6 hours and I made like X amount of money. Whoa, like that's possible. It's weird.
Yeah.
But I was like, the fact I did it, I was like, huh, like why don't I just keep trying to do it? And then, I kept trying to do it and doing like photo shoots with fashion and things. And then I don't know, one day I just decided, like, there wasn't this moment, like, people always like, yeah, I was watching TV and I saw this one scene and that's how I knew I wanted to be an actor, like that kind of thing. I didn't really have that. I just told my agent, because she was covering me for like modeling and acting and kind of everything. I just told like, hey, I'm kind of interested in more in acting. Can I just start getting submitted for more acting things? And she was like, okay. And then I decided to just hop in a class. And the reason why I moved to Toronto was because I would come here for auditions, and it would just be commercial auditions, just commercial auditions.
Yeah.
And the drive to Ottawa or to Toronto from Ottawa is 4 hours.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So I drive here 4 hours and then get a
Just
commercial
audition.
and then go back and maybe get a call back and then come back and drive back. And so I just decided to move here, and, big community here.
Yeah.
And yeah.
How was, so you said you went there with your girlfriend to the agency when she was there. How was your audition in there? Were they like, yeah, we'll look at you too, and you just had to fill out some stuff, or did you audition that day?
Yeah. So for that, again, because it's a modeling agency, it's not much of an audition.
Okay.
Because really there's very specific criteria, like for men, they look usually above 6 foot and certain body frame and just a certain look. Like that's pretty much all they do. They kind of like, they just look at you. And all she did is just make me walk, like as if I was on a runway, just make me walk back and forth. And that's all I did. And then, because, a lot of times with modeling, it's just kind of like, you'll hear a lot of times, like a lot of people from the agency, they got like scouted in like the mall, like they're just walking and so there's no audition or nothing. It's just you. And that's about it.
And so, and then you said you started getting auditions for commercials. How was that process with you? I mean, because you hadn't had classes or the acting, just kind of something natural that you kind of picked up, and you're like, this is kind of easy. I can do this, and then move to classes.
Yeah, I think so. Because I know at the beginning, my first audition, the first audition I had, it was the second audition, sorry, and it was for Coke, and it was in person. And I didn't really have to do like anything. It wasn't any talking. All I had to do, like I remember I drove, it was like a 2-hour drive to the audition, and all I had to do was just go like this, pick up a cup and just put it to my mouth and just put it back and forth and back and forth. That's all I did.
Nailed it. You nailed it. That drink
Yeah,
cup.
because I actually got it. Like that was my first actual commercial that I ever did, and yeah, all I did was just back and forth. So I didn't really have to do anything. But yeah, to answer your question, I think it kind of did come naturally because oftentimes, for commercials, there's no script really. They
Yeah.
were just kind of like, okay, now pretend that this is happening. Pretend that you're happy to see the guy, but okay, pretend that. So I just wasn't really thinking about it at the time. Like the fact you go to class and you work on relaxation and work on all these things. I didn't know anything about acting, so I think it helped a lot for commercials, and I think it has, like, to this day I still like do quite well with commercials, and I think it's always just kind of I've had this relaxation I think about commercials where it's just like yeah. So
They're kind of in and out. Like you said, there's not always a script. You kind of just go in and you have your facial expressions, and like you can do a half a day or a day and then you're done. And it's like
yeah, exactly.
good,
Yeah, you don't have to
fast
prep for
money.
it.
Yeah.
You're like, oh, sorry guys, I can't hang out today. I gotta prepare for this self tape. It's just like, no, it's like, oh yeah, I can do it, and you just go do it, and it takes like 5 seconds to like smile really big. And sometimes they're weird, like the things they're kind of weird, but like, I can't complain because the other day I was doing one and it was just asking for a specific thing, someone with my teeth, I think, to like smile really big, and I was like, oh, it looks so weird, and I was kind of getting frustrated, and then I thought about it, like, what am I frustrated about? And I tried to look at myself from the outside, and I'm like, okay, this isn't that bad.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, this
Yeah.
is what I'm doing on a Friday evening. Some people are probably at work, like, and their managers like breathing down their neck about some specific thing, and I'm here on my phone,
Being
like
asked
just
to
trying.
smile bigger. I mean,
Yeah, and I'm like,
not
oh,
bad, is it?
what is wrong? Yeah, so
Okay, so you got a couple commercials in your belt. You have an agent, and you're like, I want to pursue this more. What was your journey about, like, getting classes and kind of finding classes? I feel like as a new actor, that's kind of nerve-wracking because you're like, what's a good class? What's,
yeah,
because they're kind of pricey, they can
yes,
be.
they are. They
Yeah.
are. I think what helped again with the price thing that I think helped a lot was just kind of like where I came from before, because prior to acting, I was reading all these self-help books, and like I was doing a sales job, which I made quite good money at the time for my age at that time, and just the job itself, it made me very money conscious, so that I was able to afford classes, and like I'm very thankful for that. That was kind of instilled in me at a young age. But like I found the classes because Ottawa they didn't really have many classes, so that kind of helped.
Yeah.
There was because here in Toronto it'd be a little different. Like being here in Toronto, sometimes you get overwhelmed. I'm sure even in the States, like it's just you can get so overwhelmed because there's so many different classes. But I remember in Ottawa at the time, the ones I knew of, there was only 2 that I knew of at the time. So I just ended up doing 2, just those 2. And a lot of people at the agency who were it's kind of like the roster was like split in half, where there was models and there was also actors. And I knew some of the actors, so some of them I saw that were auditioning and working, and I was just like, hey, like, we take classes. Where do you take classes? And that's how I ended up taking classes. I took one, the first like real serious class I took was called Your Casting Academy with Mike Migliera, and I found that was my first intro to like really studying the art of acting, like actually studying it, and really, really like an actual profession. Buying books on it and really reading it, and I right away I found I was just very into the class. Like I just enjoyed it, and I thought it was just very unique and very, because I'm just interested. I was always interested in just kind of human behavior. I guess that's always something I have been interested in. So I think that's why I really enjoyed being in the class. And yeah, so luckily I was able to find a class very quickly. And I think another big thing that like has pushed me, and like I think, as to say, with a lot of actors, I do believe that a lot of them just a lot of us have maybe low self-confidence or something, a lot of insecurities, and I think what helped a lot, just being honest, is I got a lot of good feedback of like just like raw talent. And I found that kept me going a lot, you know, because going back to before with basketball, I found I think what really stopped me with basketball, because I do believe I had the skill, I think I had the athletic ability, but what really stopped me was just like this insecurity I had about it, being like if I did bad, and say I didn't get like reassurance. I didn't get and I didn't get reassurance because, you know, people are on the court and you're emotional. You don't have time to think about like the last play. It's just next. And then I'm in my head thinking about like, oh my God, I can't believe I missed that open layup. Oh, I'm so. But so that did help me a lot, just having a coach just say like, you're good, and just wow. And, you know, that, you know, I'm never going to not say that was the case. That has always pushed me forward, just hearing a coach tell me that they liked my work, even if I didn't like it. And that, I think that was really important for me at the time, because that's what really helped me take it seriously, to have like a professional, like, because I was completely new to this space, and to have a professional tell me like, this is possible for you. I was like, okay, well, I guess it is, right? I have nothing else. Like, why not just try this out? Like, yeah.
Yeah, that's awesome. And so one of the questions we like to ask just for fun is like, what would you say is one of your best auditions, and what is one of your like, maybe not so like your worst, I would say, audition?
Yeah. Yeah, I'm gonna start with the worst because it's hard to think of the best.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'd say my worst I'd say it would probably be my first. It was for this. It was in Toronto when I was living in Ottawa. I came down here for the audition, and no, I had two auditions. That day was like a tie, like a laundry with someone. Is it Tide? Is that the laundry company? Yeah, Tide. So I was like, okay, I got that, and then there was this other one. It was for like a one of those like documentary reenactment things. And I remember, you know, I didn't know anything. They didn't give us anything. They just, you know, just sent them the headshot, and that was it. They just wanted us to bring a headshot. And I remember, you know, I was in the room. Yeah, I was a little nervous because, you know, everyone kind of looks like you, and you're like, oh, and you hear like screaming in the room, and you're like, oh, are they gonna make me scream or something? And like, so I went in, and they had another actress there, and they had a director, and they said it was just like an improv. Well, in the waiting room, sorry, they gave us like this loose skeleton of like what was going on, and essentially what it was about was like, it's kind of like teenage drama. And I had a girlfriend in high school that I got pregnant, and she was keeping a baby. And if I'm remembering correctly, I believe I was resistant to it and avoiding her. And so in
Tide commercial?
No.
Oh no.
No.
I was like,
yeah.
what
That's quite
is
the commercial.
happening? Okay, sorry.
Okay. Yeah. The Tide commercial was right after, but
okay.
Yeah, a little different. But in the room, they wanted us to improv that. Like, I'm at school, and she catches me, and like something about like, why you've been avoiding me or something, and I'm just supposed to, you know, it's just a confrontation. And I remember improv that. I don't remember the specific, but I do remember there was a point where, like, as I was doing it, the director was on the side, and he's like, okay, well, get a little more like frustrated with her, or get a little more angry. And I was just like, I heard angry, and I was like, huh, angry. And then, of course, I was thinking, like, angry, what do I do? And I just screamed really loud, like, just screamed because I was angry, and I was just yelling at her. And then right after I screamed, the director, he stops, and he's like, okay, that's boring. He's like, that's boring. And the way he said it, I was just I think, honestly, at that time, the fact I was so ignorant to like acting and just the work, that like it didn't really affect me, but it did to a point, because I never forgot about it, because I remember him saying like, yeah, that's so boring. Like, usually they would never say that. They would just be like, oh, thank you or something. And he was like, yeah, he's just like, that's so boring. But he did really teach me a good lesson, because he was just talking about he's like, yeah, of course people are angry and they yell, but like think about like when he said something that's like, he said something very violently, and he just whispered it, and he was just like, isn't that just as intense? And I was just, at the time, like I just felt really stupid. It's just like, oh, okay, well, damn it. And then I left, and I remember going in the room, and there's my friend there, and he had an audition, I think after or before, and we're in the Uber going back, and he's like, oh, how's your audition? And I was like, oh, horrible. And he's just like, okay. But I just realized it was just how I was looking at it at the time, you know, because if I had that audition now, I'd be like, because that's really good feedback to hear that, like for them to actually be honest like that, it was good.
Yeah.
But you know, at that time I was just like, geez, wow, I'm awful.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. That feedback sometimes, it stings, but sometimes I would rather have that feedback than not have anything.
Yeah.
You're just kind of like,
Yeah.
I mean, I know it wasn't the best, but you know, how can I grow from that? You know, so
Yeah.
always nice when you get a little bit feedback, because I feel like when they give you feedback too, they want you to, it's like they're cheering for you, even if they're giving you, you know, what is the word? I can't speak.
Critique.
Yeah. But yeah, that they are like kind of cheering for you. Like there's something in you. I know you can talk, but you gotta not be boring in this incident, you know?
Yeah, absolutely. So yeah, I just at the time, I guess I was just like, oh, but yeah, it was valuable because now in the self-tape world, you don't hear anything most of the time. Nothing. You're like, hey, what's going on? It's like,
you're like, I sent it in. I don't even know, you know. And
yeah.
I don't know if it's like you, or you ladies and stuff, when you send this in and you don't hear anything, you're like, start wondering, did I send it in right? Did I submit it right? Did they know? Is my name on it? Was something they didn't like and they didn't even watch it? You know, you start thinking of things that you can't control once it's submitted, but it's done, you know?
Yeah. There's so many things.
So you kind of answered some of my questions that I was asking. So I'm going to pass you on to Heather so she can start talking to you about like how you prepare and things for your auditions.
Cool.
Yeah. So I'm assuming now that you've taken some classes, you probably prep differently than you did before you were taking classes for audition. So is there anything in particular that you like to do before every audition? Any rituals you have, or just things like how you look at the script before you walk into that room or before you do your self-tape to send in?
Yeah. Well, yeah, absolutely. I think now, like, I find it still changing. Like, even now, I'd say, like, in this past week, it's a lot different than it was, say, a month ago. And I think, you know, before what I used to do, not too long, because, you know, I only been acting really seriously, like auditioning seriously for about 2 years. Not even 2 years now. I'd say about a year, like really auditioning seriously about a year. And I remember there was a time I would just get the audition and I'd be like, oh, how many pages is? Oh, okay, I'm gonna get them off book. You know, and that's what I would just do. I would just go straight to getting them off book. And I got really good at just getting it off book. And I was so focused on just the text and just the actual physical text, to the point that like when I was so good with it, I thought like I'm very comfortable with the audition. And you know, I'd say and it would sound very sharp. But I had this illusion that just because it sounded sharp that I knew what I was saying, but there was so much more that I really wasn't taking into account, because sometimes I'd do all that and then somebody would stop me, say I'm getting taped, and then they're just like, okay, what's going on? Why'd you say that? Like, oh, what's going on? And I'm like, I don't know. You know, you're just saying it. But now what I've been doing a lot more, I'd say obviously it depends on the size. Like I'd say for like say a 2 scene one that has a couple pages. First what I do is, you know, I look at the breakdown and I look at everything. Like I learned this in class. I thought it was very, very valuable. I look at the breakdown like just from the top left, and I look at the director, the writer, the producer. I look at everybody, and then I go on their IMDb and look at all their, just to look at what kind of stuff. And like sometimes it's like a kid's show, and I wouldn't have known that if I didn't click on the producer, like the first producer and the second producer. Realized like, oh, they worked on the same things quite a bit. They work together quite a bit. Oh, they work on a lot of kids shows. Oh, okay, this is a little more kid friendly, or oh, it's a little more comedic. Or that's what I do first, and then yeah, I read the log line and I read the breakdown of the character, and then when I go to the script, I read it in its entirety out loud usually, and I try to do that over and over and over, and just do it over and over and over. Just read it out loud and read it out loud, read it out loud, read it out loud, and that usually helps me memorize it more anyway. So I'm just like, okay, I'll put the memorization to the side because that's not as important. I'll get that, like, you know, I'll figure that out. It's a lot harder to figure out like the text, like the actual, like what's going on, than to memorize, because anybody can memorize, but to really understand what you're saying and why you're saying it, that does take a lot of time. So I find just reading it a lot more, and now I've been actually writing a lot more about like a breakdown of like who's my character, like what is my character doing in this situation, and who's my character talking to. So you know, the big who, what, when, where. Before I used to just every time I hear it in class, I would just kind of almost block my ears because I had this notion that like it's just gonna put me in my head. And again, the way I got into the industry and the way like I had like, just little success with like commercials and those things I found was always just through like instinctual. And I always found that like, oh, I need to stick to being instinctual. But then, what I'm really learning now is there's a way to have both. And I think that really comes with being able to be relaxed. So I think the biggest thing as well was in another class I took in Ottawa and in Toronto, was a teacher named Claudia. We worked on chair relaxation pretty much for like, the class was quite a long class. We go 4 hours, 5 hours, 6. I really liked like a real long class. And for the first half of the class, almost 2 hours, an hour and a half, we would just sit in the chair and just do relaxation for like over an hour, 15 minutes, and just real long time, really focusing on specific parts of our body, like the whole time, and just our shoulder and just moving and breathing and releasing air as we do that. And that helped a lot going on camera, because I remember the first time I was on camera, I was just doing a lot of like, every time I would talk, instead of just saying hello, I'm just like, hello, like my eyes just do all this stuff. So relaxation helped a lot with just doing like, just breathing and just letting it out. So that's usually what I tend to do with the lines as well. It's like, I try to sit in the chair and just like move my body and just kind of release any tension that I feel in specific parts, in my neck. I made a lot there, and just say the lines out loud, and also say the lines very differently. Like just say them just like over enunciate, or just do an accent, even if it's bad, just as long as it's not like my regular voice, and just try to speed through it. I find I have this resistance to rehearsing it. I think perhaps that will change as I learn new ways to approach auditions and work, because just with past experience, I found that when I would rehearse it, I would sometimes just get fixed in that way of rehearsing. Even with like scenes in class, I know sometimes like I joined a new scene study class and it was just completely new. And I know like my scene partner just wanted to rehearse, and I didn't want to say, no, I don't like rehearsing. Like, so I guess just did it. But I don't like, I just don't like really getting fixed. But I think that's to come with the experience, because like you see in theater, like they rehearse all the time, but there's a way to rehearse and keep it fresh. So I think just talking about it is what I'm really starting to understand a lot more now, is really just talking about it, and talking to people, like just out loud, saying everything out loud, having someone else read the sides out loud, and just really talking about what's going on, because it's just like, at the end of the day, it's usually just two humans like talking about something, and I can find a way to relate. But again, I'm still new, and I'm really still trying to learn how to approach the text as well as I can, but that's what I do today.
Yeah, and you kind of mentioned something that I wanted to ask you, because sometimes when you go into an audition, you present it how you've practiced it, and then the director's like, all right, or whoever's like, okay, give me something different. Like you say you don't like to rehearse in one way. So has that happened to you? And in your mind, like, do you get nervous thinking, shit, I don't have it another way? Or do you just rely on your instincts to do it a different way for the director?
Yeah, I'd say in that case, just again, like how it's been for me, just with Zoom, and oftentimes, haven't really talking to like someone behind the camera been very rare lately. It's usually just been, say, if I'm being coached. So to reference, like to answer that, would probably have to be based off like things in class or like recent classes. But usually, like to answer, it would usually be the latter, because I found that I tend to just rely on that, so that it's like, because they always talk about the most important thing is taking direction. And I remember one time in the class, I always thank the teacher for this. Is at the beginning, she wanted me to do something. She wanted me to sing it. And then I remember I was like, sing it. Oh, I don't think my character would do that. She's like, okay, but why not? And it's just like, oh, da da da. I just said all this. And she's just like, okay, all I need you to do is just stop talking. Like just stop talking. Just shut up. Just stop talking. And I was just like, at first I was like, oh, my ego's like, oh, she told me to be quiet. Oh, like there's people here. How dare she? That's mean. And then I realized like that's so important now. And that's a big thing of like this, almost like this motto I have, this mantra I have for myself. Just sometimes just like shut up. And just shut up. And in that terms, I think that helps a lot with direction, because you just hear them, and whatever they tell you, you just do it instead of like, oh no, because what's the point of what's the point of really doing that? Like, if say a director or even a coach says try it this way, and you just say no, and it's like, okay, that completely almost blocks off a certain like creative part in you, you know. And so I found, yeah, the instinctual part helped a lot, with just kind of, yeah, keeping it loose. But again, sometimes it gets blocked in terms of if I'm just relying completely on the instinctual and I don't really understand like why I said that one line, that can sometimes block me in terms of like trying to when they give me a redirect, trying to really commit to it, because sometimes I'm like, I don't know what it means there. But yeah, just staying loose, I think, really, just I think that is most important. So I'm happy, like that's been my foundation. Just going to my body first as opposed to just the text. And I'm working more towards the text, because I've been working just on my body, and I'm starting to get a little more comfortable with text. But I'm happy I started just with the breath, because that's like me. There's no text at the end of the day. When the laptop closes or when you guys are gone, it's like it's just my breath and just me. And I think that needs to be grounded before I can read anything and say anything aloud on a camera. But yeah,
we've taken some classes with a teacher. I can't remember Martin's last name. Do you guys know it?
Bassett.
Yes, thank you. And he's really big on like getting into your body and like moving and like seeing how it feels. And I will be honest, like the first time I took the class, I was like, I feel so silly. You know what I mean? Because he was like, act like a dog or act like an animal. And I was like, what does this have to do with acting? But I have taken several of his classes now. And I will say, I really do enjoy them, because it's just like a different way that I would never have thought about getting into a character.
Yeah.
And it's like really just getting out of your present body and into something as silly as a dog, can just make this character be something so different. So if anybody gets a chance, they should take a class with him. I think he's just really great. So I kind of hijacked your section. You can ask the next question.
Fine, Ashley, whatever. As we're wrapping up, is there anything you're working on right now that you can talk about? If you can't talk about it, that's fine. We won't press.
Yeah, I guess now, honestly, like now again, it's just classes. Like I joined a new class, and because I realized, this is with this COVID era, you can take classes all over the world. So I just decided to sign up for a UK class, and there's this class in the UK. I haven't started yet. I actually started in 2 days. I'm quite excited. I've never worked with a UK coach, and here in North America, we're always talking about UK training, and we're like, yeah, they're way ahead of us. They're stealing all our roles. Their training is different. So I'm like, you know what? Why not just try it out? And
what class is it?
Well, this one is it's called RADA, Royal Academy Dramatic Arts. So I signed with that one, and then I applied for IDSA. They have like this. You just apply, and then there's gonna be an audition to see if I get in like a few weeks. So yeah, I'm excited for that. And yeah, other than that, outside of acting, not much. I spend a lot of time in fitness. Like, that's pretty much what I do outside of acting. Like I do a lot of calisthenics. So that's where I spend a lot of my time. So outside of that, I'm just trying to work on new moves, new ways to move my body and just be more flexible.
Which will help with the acting,
Yeah, I think it does. Yeah, just the discipline. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. So is there anything we didn't ask you that you wanted to talk about?
Wow, what is it? Maybe my favorite show. Oh, I'm interested in your guys' favorite show too.
What is it?
Our favorite shows?
Yeah.
Oh gosh.
Our favorite show, like singular.
Oh, show.
We gotta pick one.
Yeah.
Here, you go first.
Oh no.
Yeah, you give you some time. Give you guys some
You're
time.
gonna like reverse this on us. Okay.
Oh, no one ever asked us questions.
I know. Okay. Why would
brain's
we
like,
have our show? You need to think of 3 words that would describe your career so far.
And one piece of advice you would like to give to aspiring actors or wish that you had at the beginning of your path. Okay.
Hey.
You think about that and we'll think about our favorite show.
Oh my God, I've had to pause this so long because I can't think.
God, I'm trying to think like my ultimate like
I'm trying to think of a show that I would watch over and over again.
I've got my show, and you guys are gonna be like, "You're ridiculous."
Well done then.
Teletubbies. No? Okay.
Okay.
Well, that was my guess for you, Ashley.
Okay. I have my show. You guys have yours?
No,
Mine might be a last minute Nelly because there's so many I love.
Yeah.
And it depends on like what kind of mood I'm in. Because sometimes I love like the dark, like mystery.
That's
I might just want to laugh.
There's shows that are good. Like I thought like Normal People was an amazing show. I don't know if anybody's seen that. Has anybody seen that?
No,
I know
never
of it,
heard
but I never got around to watching it.
Okay.
I
Gonna watch
Your favorite show?
It's not. I was just saying that is a very good show. My favorite show that I've watched, I've probably watched, I think there's 9 seasons, and I have watched every season probably in my lifetime 10 times, every season. It's Murder, She Wrote.
Wow.
That is so old school. Oh my god, I can't
It's like my comfort blanket. I started watching it with my grandmother, obviously. And I've watched, and I love it. I love Angela. I love her so much. And I think she's a great actress. And if I'm doing anything, I'll just put it on. Like when I first started dating my husband for the first time, I was starting to rewatch all the seasons because I think they just came out on Netflix or Prime or something. And my husband's like, who am I dating? And he stayed with me when I was watching Murder, She Wrote, like from start to finish.
more for him.
Wow.
There you go. Yeah. If you want to come on the podcast.
She's still alive.
Yeah,
She's still alive.
is.
Keira.
Girl's gotta be getting out of it. No.
Her and Betty White are